Hey guys, what's going on? So back in the shop working on the second Z, the white Z I call it, because it's white. But what we got today going on is going to do the front end. So we're going to mock up the front crash bar system and get all that tacked in place and see if we can't fit it. Now I've already done the one car, my car, the black car, so hopefully this should go a lot quicker and easier because of the fact that I know what to do. I can measure off that one. I wrote down all of the measurements and bends, but it's still fitting in process. So what we're gonna do right now is we're going to fit all of the plates that we're gonna weld in place here and here and start mocking it up so where I can bolt my plates and then I can start adding tube. So that's what we're gonna do, and I'm gonna time lapse it. So follow with me, all right? All right, guys, so that's tacked in place and on the car for now. Let me show you what I did. I have a bag of 10 mil nuts, boom. And I made a bunch of these plates here, drilled the holes, used a step bit. That way it keeps it nice and centered. And then I welded these nuts on the back side of the holes. And that's what got welded onto the car. Sun's blowing that out. So we'll go to this one. Focus, thank you. So you see the weld marks on the back side. They got nuts welded in the back. That's why I drilled the holes into the chassis bigger to allow the weld around the nut and the nut to insert. I made sure that I marked it where I wanted it first. And then what you saw with the hammer was just, there's a little bit of weld that's a little irregular on the backside, so fit the part, tack it close on the backside, then take a hammer and tap it. And what you'll do is this little sheet metal will just cave away where the nut is and the weld, and it'll fit nice and flat. So I got it fit nice and flat, also did the lowers. So, and then what'll happen is this will now be the plate that goes on the front section and bolts to there. This will get welded all the way around. And then this plate that'll be part of the front with the tubing coming off it will now bolt to it. So I'll go ahead and bolt these to the car, all four of them, and then I'll build off of that, tack everything in place, and then I'll separate everything and finish welding it later. So the plan right now is just to get everything tacked in place, fabbed up, designed, and then later on come back and weld the whole structure and take my time with that. But right now we're just in the fab stage. So yeah, so those are the plates for the car. This is my design from looking at a bunch of other people's cars, kind of doing stuff that I've done in the past, looking at it and going, what would make it the easiest to get the motor in and out of the car? My thought was, instead of welding all this solid, my thought was to not only make this a lot stronger by making the whole front end tubular, and then having the bash bar off of that, which is thinner walled material. But my thought was, just like the factory Z, where you can unbolt the radius support and unbolt the whole front end, and there's a big hole where you can take the motor in and out very easily, I want to keep that. That makes perfect sense to me, but I also want to make this a lot stronger. So, looking at the rule books of Formula Drift, because, you know, you got to adhere to something and have a plan that if the driver of this car wants to get into Formula Drift eventually, why not have the chassis done where it's legal for Formula Drift? do it one time, do it the right way, and then you don't have to do it again. You can simply just put different motor packages or turbos or just increase the horsepower of the car that way. So the whole idea with this is with Formula Drift, it states that you have to have 4 bolts on each mounting side of the front structure. They say that with the bash bar. However, you have to, since that's the only rule to follow, you have to take that in consideration with this too. A lot of people will put 4 bolts here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's not enough room here because Formula D also stipulates that it has to be a 3/8 bolt or larger. So minimum of a 3/8 bolt or an 8 millimeter, 3/8 and 8 millimeter, basically same thing. Japanese car going with millimeters, staying with metric. Anyway, they state that you have to have 4 bolts on each side of the mounting. I split that up. It's a gray area that I think, or maybe they'll have no problems with it, but I think within the rule books of how it reads that that is okay. So 2 down here and 2 up here. This is one structure together. This is the side which has 4 bolts. So I split it up, yes, but it still reads the same. So that's where we're at. So 4 on this side, 4 on that side, and we get our 8. So, and the whole front end will unbolt from the car, and you can get right to the motor, all that stuff. So I'll take you over and show you my car that I've already done this same exact way. And I've already gotten the blessings, and everybody agrees that that is legit, legal, and okay. But I'll take you over to that car pretty soon, and I'll show you kind of a finished one that's really, really cool. The whole front end unbolts with the bash bar, with the headlights, with the pins, with everything unbolts. The whole front end of the car basically unbolts and sets aside. And you can get right to the motor, work around it, this and that, and then simply bolt the whole front end back on with 8 bolts. Super cool. And it's the forethought of thinking ahead to Formula Drift or to a race or to having an issue with the car, which I always try to do. So I'm gonna get back to work. All right, everybody, back again. I didn't want to take all the time of showing every little detail of how the bending process and the cutting and the notching and all that works, but basically, this is the tube notcher here. It's a JD squared model 32. Car guys should know how this works. You put the pipe in, bends it around, you get the idea. So basically, this is what we got. So I took the time, I bent all of my material and everything for the front end. I cut all my material over here on the chop saw. Cut everything the length. Then came over and coped everything with the coper. Notcher, tubing notcher. But let me show you how I did all that, because I kind of cheated. I've done this before. As I mentioned before, I have a second car that's already been done. I figured everything out on the first car, which took months upon months. And now this car is gonna be a lot quicker. And that's why I'm showing you guys. It's not gonna take months. It's just gonna take a few weeks, and we'll put the car together exactly like the other one. So what I did was figuring out the other car. It's backwards because I'm on cell phone, flipped backwards, but you'll get the idea. So I basically wrote all the measurements, bending charts, all the angles, everything down. So I can just duplicate it. The reason I did this was because the first car was my car. It was my black 350Z, black and blue 350Z drift car. And that was kind of the prototype, the test, the long process of doing it all by hand, doing it all in my brain, measuring everything, writing everything down, because I knew that I would be duplicating it. So I knew that if I tried to build 2 cars at the same time, it would have been just 2 cars of disaster. So what I did was I built the first car, which was mine, and I knew that my car I could mess up, I could fix, I could tweak, I could, you know, figure it out. So that's what I did. Figured it out. And of course, my car came out really good because I like to build things right the first time anyway. But, you know, just taking the extra time to measure everything out and really think about how I could use and this and that. So this car's coming out a lot quicker. You know, this whole front end probably took me, you know, 4 weeks on my car. It took a day, you know, on this one. So that's the whole purpose. That's the whole point. I can duplicate this. I can build this for somebody else. This car will go a lot quicker. Yeah, and with everything going on in the world with the coronavirus and everything, this is probably the perfect place for me to be right now, is in the shop, getting this second car done. And I'm glad that I took the time to write everything down, measure everything, and figure out all the bends, because I would be pulling my hair out right now if I hadn't have done that. And hopefully, God willing, this virus doesn't last more than maybe a month or so, and I can have this car done now because it's going to go a lot quicker. So right now, we're going to go to another time lapse, and I'll show you me tacking the rest of this in place and what it looks like. All right, see you guys. All right, guys, that was super quick, just how I wanted it. Measured everything out, cut everything, coped everything. Yeah, just tack in place. That's all I'm gonna do for now. I'm just gonna tack everything in. I'm gonna do that to the whole car. That way I can just keep moving. Tack that in, tack that in, tack that in, tack that in, start fitting things, start tacking more stuff in. Then the whole car will be complete. I already know what it's doing because, again, I already did one, but I'll tack it all in place. Nice, good, strong tacks. I mean, they're in there. You know, they're not little baby tacks. They're good tacks on each side and 4 corners and stuff like that. So, yeah, everything came out really cool, just like mine. Got the jack up point right there. Got the frame section here, and then those coming up to that. And again, with 8 bolts, 4 on either side here, 4 on either side here, the whole front end unbolts, you get right to the motor, fix everything, even swap motors if you need, and bolt back on and good to go. So I'm super happy with today's progress. That went so good and so quick that on the next one, we will move to the inside and start working on the actual cage. So everything's pre-cut and ready. All of the material for the cage is right here. So I already have the door bars pre-bent, pre-coped and everything, because when I did mine, those door bars, those NASCAR bars are so difficult that when I did the ones for my car and made sure they were good, I went ahead and made the ones for this car, at least the tops. The tops are the ones that were extremely difficult. And because I have the tops and I have a left and a right, to do the lowers, it's simply the same bends, they're just shorter. So that way they do that arc up at the back. The bottom one is shorter. But at least I have the bends. So what I'll do is, to make sure that I have the right angles and all that kind of stuff, I'll put the left one over there when I'm doing the left lower, and I'll go off of the upper and get the same angles and just eyeball it side to side to make sure, like, if one has to go like this to bend that lower angle, then I'll put that one next to it and make sure it's at the right angle instead of being down here and then the one I'm bending up here. I did that when I made these. I screwed up like 2 of them. I was lucky enough that with the straight pieces I cut and reused for other places into the car. But yeah, it was pretty difficult to bend those NASCAR bars with the angles and the craziness and the snake bends and all. But anyway, so yeah, that'll work. And that's the material. This is the actual hoop, the main hoop. These two right here are, I believe, these are the A-pillar bars. And then these down here are the 2 lower NASCAR bar sections. And then this is the front roof bar. So, and then those are the gusset pieces and everything. So everything should be here except for maybe the seatbelt bar and the down brace. But I got plenty of material to do that, and all that's usually pretty straightforward custom anyway. So yeah, all right. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.